Hello, everybody, and welcome again to the Madroit Podcast. I, of course, am Jordan Haynes. With me, as always, founder, CEO of Madroit, Winston Hofer. Win, how's it going, man?
Great, Jordan. Excited to get into it today.
Me too. I'm feeling very like Run DMC in my outfit right now. I just had to point that out. I was like, man, this is old school.
So for those of you not watching on YouTube or Spotify, you should check it out because Jordan is very accurate with his description of himself.
All right, I appreciate that. So, guys, today we're going to talk about one of the most vital parts of your business's foundation, your website, and why it's so important. Win, hit us with it.
Why does it actually matter? Thinking about it, why does a business's website matter? Either your first or second impression for someone. So showing up and showing who you are accurately is just critical, right? It either tells someone that you should work together, you should buy from them, or it tells them you shouldn't. And that's valuable too. Telling people you shouldn't work with us and telling the right people you shouldn't work with us is very important. And it tells the people that you should be working with and are working with that you are even more aligned to work with them specifically.
I agree. I think one of the things that I talk about with why your website is to build credibility and show your reputation, take them through like, this is what we're about. This is who we work with. This is who we are. I think that all comes into the why. Your website's such a valuable part of supporting your team, getting you out in front of potential consumers and clients. But ultimately, it matters so much because it is a representation of you in every digital space. So I guess then I'll point it right back to you. When who is the person that is going to be using your website?
Everyone, like you said, it's so vital. Whether you rely on referrals or word of mouth or direct to consumer, then that's their first impression. Your website matters. If it's referrals, they're going to go verify what you do, who you do it for, and why you do it for that matter too. It's just the validation is so important.
Yeah, it's almost silly asking that question, right? Who's going to use your website? Because everybody's touching your website. And everybody, whether they're passively shopping you, whether they're aggressively shopping you, we're going to make a decision right now. Like we've talked on previous episodes about the buyer journey. And do you know how many times a person is hitting your website, scouring, looking for information, doing research just to see if you are who you say you are, if you are credible, if you do have the products, if you're the right match for them, for what they need? Those are all things that get brought into your website. So people are constantly hitting your site, looking for information, looking for your products and services all the time.
People decide so quickly to based on your website whether or not they're going to work with you or buy from you. For example, like home service companies, if you don't have like the service that they're looking for right away, or you don't look personable, or you don't look like a legit business because there's plenty of one person shops and that's not what someone's looking for, they're very easily gone. If you have something that presents well and you show that you're authentic and you're a company local and do the services that someone's looking for, then they'll continue on that buyer journey. And same for B2B businesses. If the expertise on your website doesn't match up with what they're looking for, they're gone.
Yeah, I would say your website has to pass the eye test. If somebody is driving past a building on a road and they're like, man, it's a really nice building, like they must do really well, that's the instant perception. If somebody goes past a rundown building that there's no cars in front of, there's nothing happening, it might be the perception may be like, oh man, either they're out of business or they're on their way out of business. So that's how quickly people make a judgment. So when they come to your website, it's the same thing. They're like, oh man, this looks like it was done 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Or, okay, where's the services? Where's the products? I can't really find them. Instantly, I'm frustrated. I'm not doing this. They're probably not for me because they're not making it easy for me. So goodbye.
If you confuse them, you lose them.
Yes.
You explain that so right there. If it doesn't line up right away, your job is to make it easier for someone to decide to work with you. So your website is a huge component of that.
Great. Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So, when let me put you on the spot here real fast. What makes a great website?
To me, there's a few things that make a great website and a website that's better than 90% of websites out there. A few things: color, i.e., your brand, the content, very important, and then spacing. Spacing's a small thing, but you can tell when someone doesn't know what they're doing with the spacing. And you, as a business, as an organization, want to portray that you do know what you're doing. So that all represents you. Of course, the content being vital to all of that as well.
I couldn't agree more. Content is so valuable on your website for a number of reasons, right? We've talked about SEO, we've talked about landing pages and this, that, and the other, but your content again is portraying you. That is your digital representation of you, your business, your team. That said, do not bash me over the head with your content. Give some space for it to breathe. You talked about spacing right there. One of my favorite things that we were told, you and I both, a long time ago, is don't be afraid of white space and how impactful it can be. So I think that's vital while you're creating your site. You want to show everybody that you're an expert. You want to show everybody that you know what you're talking about. That's great. But also, don't bombard them. Don't overwhelm them. Give them the opportunity to find more out about you. Because if you give them the opportunity and you make it easy for them to do research, they will do it.
Well said.
So again, just main point here that we're trying to make sure that we're hitting on is your website is one of your first touch points with your potential consumers or clients, and it can really make or break the overall experience that they have. It's funny because as we talked about it being like your virtual showroom and really your first impression, it reminded me of like when I was a kid and we used to go to these department stores, right? That's what you did back in the day. My mom or my grandma would take me, and I just remember thinking, like, holy cow, there are so many people that must be working here, from stocking shelves to being in like the fragrance department or shoes or home decor or whatever. But what ends up happening is like to modern day now, all those people from those department stores were those experts there. Now that's your content on your website. That's your sections, the pages that you have on your website that are dedicated to the fragrances, to home decor, to jewelry, etc. And now people are making those judgments without being in store. So that allows them to be more passive. It allows them to shop even more, I guess is the best way that I'm trying to say it there. So in the end, things like SEO factor in. But I think all of that to say that you want they wanted those team members back in the day when I was in the department stores. They wanted those team members to all be on the same page, all be speaking consistently, and all be there to do one thing: help the client, help the customer find what they wanted. And that's the same way your website has to work. Is that kind of how you feel about it too?
Oh, spot on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so valuable. And that's why such a simple topic. Why is your website important? But when you dive in and actually think about it, there's so many things that lead up to making your website great. And I think what you talked about, getting those few things right, and that's going to put you in a position to be better than 90% of websites. That's so true. So in the end, my friends, please evaluate your website. Look to optimize your website when appropriate, so it's in place to achieve these specific goals that you want to achieve to help your business grow ultimately. That's what we're all looking to do. So that is our episode for today. Please make sure to like and subscribe to the podcast wherever and however you listen to your podcasts. If you have any questions that you'd like us to talk about on the podcast going forward, please get in touch with us at madridmarketing.com/podcast. All the best, guys. Here for you if you need us.